Welcome to the Six Figure DJ Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle, aka DJ RunDat. I'm so excited to share a series of interviews where DJs from around the world share their stories and secrets to hitting six figures and beyond in their DJ business and how you can too. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you hear, please rate and review the podcast and share it with your friends. Welcome to the Six Figure DJ Podcast. I am your host, Michelle Miller. Today I have Alex Updike as a special guest. Welcome.
Very special guest. I love it already. I feel so important. Let's do it. I'm stoked.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for being here. Let's just start off with just a little bit of background about how did you get into DJing?
Yeah. So I had absolutely no musical background. My family had no musical background. I was not into music from the time I was 3 or whatever DJs like to say. That is 100% not my story. I was an athlete all growing up. Like me and my family were just 100% sports, and any other activity was just for people that weren't good enough to play sports. So I guess they would have something to do, band and choir and theater and all that artistic stuff I didn't really care about. But then, like most athletes, I hit a point in my life where all of a sudden I was not good enough to be an athlete anymore. And so life had to change, and I had to find some other avenues. And I got into more of the artistic side of things with a lot of acting, which is obviously a whole different story, but got pretty heavily involved with theater and acting as kind of a creative outlet. And that was a lot of fun. But the way I got into DJing was after I graduated from college. I was sitting at my parents' kitchen table with a college degree and no job and no idea what I wanted to do with that degree, and came across DJing and was kind of like, oh, this looks interesting. This looks fun. And I kind of had my right brain, left brain moment. One side of my brain, like the guy in his mid-20s, was like, oh, if I'm a DJ, like chicks are going to really dig this. This is going to be awesome. And then the more mature part of my brain was like, hey, this, is a learnable skill with a low overhead to get started, but a really high earning potential. And here I sit on a six-figure podcast as a 32-year-old single DJ. So obviously one side of that was right and one side of that was very much wrong. I think it's obvious which is which. So that's kind of how I initially got started. Is I just saw the potential for it, and I was like, I think I can do this. So kind of just learned the basics of DJing and got started with a pair of speakers from my church, an old pair of passive Yamaha speakers that my church let me use. And that was my first set of speakers.
Wow.
So
Wow. I got gifted a pair of Yamahas like that, and I never set them up because they were big and heavy, and I needed an amp, and I didn't have an amp. And yeah, I think like the DJ equipment has evolved so much. It's made it a lot easier for people to DJ. So
yeah, 100%. Everybody loves the column arrays and stuff now. You don't even have to lift anything, which is really nice. So yeah, it's definitely coming a long way from lugging those passive Yamahas with the giant amp and having to plug it all in, and just not ideal at all.
So you went into it thinking about it as a business, which I feel is not the normal route or most popular route, because I feel, well, from my experience, I didn't realize the potential for the money until people started wanting to pay me. And then I had to start thinking about it and asking and doing research on what should I charge. So that's very interesting and smart of you. Good job. I'm sure you're grateful you had that realization and took that leap of faith.
Yeah, I mean, I started out my first year or so, it was basically just doing like the low end kind of party bar circuit out here in the Palm Springs, Coachella Valley area, and didn't really make really any money at all. It wasn't until I got obviously into more like the wedding sector that I actually started making my money. But I guess I did realize from the beginning, I was like, man, this is just like it doesn't take a lot to get in this. If you have the willingness to learn how to actually do the art of DJing, the equipment side of it, just to get started is is not that bad. Of course, everybody knows once you get into the thick of things, now you're spending way too much money on equipment. But back in the good old days when things were simple and you weren't having to try and justify the higher and higher price tag, you were just a beginner wedding DJ. It was just like a couple speakers and a controller and a laptop, and you were kind of ready to rock.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think back on my journey that I had minimal equipment and was able to make a lot of money. And I think about this book, Profit First, that I started reading. And a lot of people recommend this book, and my business coach had recommended it. But I think I had already figured that one out, maybe because of necessity, or that like I didn't see, I'm more of a simple girl. I don't need all of it, but like you can definitely get started with just a couple speakers. You can finance equipment. Like people don't know that if you have decent credit, you can finance your equipment and make payments, and you can make that money back so fast. I think it's interesting when you're starting out, the pricing part. Did you ever have anybody that was kind of helping you when you started getting more into the private events and taking it a little more serious as a business? Did you have any mentors or any influences?
Not, it was mostly, so I had one other DJ down here that's a little bit older than me. He's about 8 to 10 years older than me. And he helped me out a little bit as I was getting started. He was kind of my whatever you like, your idea board that you bounce stuff off of. So he helped me a little bit as a little bit of a mentor of just getting started, but it was also a lot of just learn by doing.
Yeah.
What I actually did was I would keep track of how much money I made DJing as compared to how much I was spending as I was upgrading equipment. When I was still trying to figure out if this was something that I could feasibly do, so that I knew at any given point, okay, if I just decide to stop right here, I've made more money DJing than I've spent upgrading equipment and stuff. So I always kept track of that so that I would know, okay, I'm not spending more than I'm making. So if I decide to go a different direction with this, then I know I've at least come out in the positive as far as how much money I've made. And eventually at a certain point, you make enough more than you've spent that, okay, we're good to go from here. But that was kind of how I did it at the beginning, to answer your question. I just kept track. I had like two columns. One was money I've made, one was money I've spent. I just always made sure the money I made was more than the money I've spent, in case I decided this was not something I wanted to do. But kept track of that to be responsible financially. And then everything else, I just tried to kind of learn as I go and improve on what I offered and improve on my skills and kind of what I was doing from a business perspective, and just try and grow that way, just kind of naturally.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful and important to track our money and expenses, the money in, the money out. And the more I pay attention to it, I believe the more it grows as far as the money coming in. And I also think it's important to have that one goal. I had set the goal of 6 figures for several years, and unfortunately, COVID slowed things down, but I did hit that goal. And, I always believed it wasn't a matter of if it was going to happen, it was just a matter of when it was going to happen. So do you set clear financial goals, or the amount of gigs you want to book, play per year, or how does that work for you?
So I was really bad at this for a while because I just didn't really have any guide. There's a little bit of a wedding DJ community down here, but not a ton. And it's not, at least from my experience, I'm not tight knit with it. So like I said, I didn't have a ton of mentorship as I was up and coming. So I just, like I said, at a certain point, basically I just started keeping track of, where are my financials at every month. So that's what I did, is at the end of the month, I'll just look at what my financial situation is and just make sure I'm trending in the right direction. So if I get to the end of the month and I'm like, oh, shoot, I spent $3,000 more this month than I made, okay, I need to be aware of that. And so maybe I just pull the reins on the equipment I'm buying or whatever it may be, or I take a look and be like, okay, what do I have coming in next month? So basically at this point, I'm just keeping track of from month to month and making sure my financials in general are just obviously trending in the right direction, and I'm not spending more than I'm bringing in just overall.
And you've done this by yourself, right?
So for the most part, yes. So I brought an accountant on this year. So this was the first year that I went from just a solo op, just independent contractor essentially, into an actual registered corporation. So I
Nice.
brought on, yeah, so I have an accountant now that has access to my bank records. And so anything that goes out, he keeps track of it. He keeps track of all the tax documentation, W-2 stuff for guys that I have working with me. So I have that once I made it official. I'm like, okay, now I'm a corporation and there's going to be all this federal and state tax stuff that goes with corporations. And I've got a second DJ working with me that's on his own independent stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way I'm keeping track of all this on my own. Like, I'm just going to let a professional do it. So
Good.
luckily I have a personal friend. I actually did his wedding when him and his wife got married. And he does small business accounting, like business accounting with a lot of small business accounting. So it's kind of what he does. So I just was like, yeah, man, here, it's all yours.
Yeah. I'm curious. So what do you feel has been the secret to your success in growing your business financially?
I think it's been really essentially a two-tier approach. Is I think there's two main pillars as a DJ company that you can excel at in order to grow your company. One is the obvious one, it's the product. Like if you have a good product that people like and want to use, and they say, oh, you're different from, the however many other wedding DJs are out there just kind of all doing the same thing. I think that's one thing. So make sure you have a really good product. And if you can find a niche that you kind of fit into, like some guys out there are high-end production guys. Great. Incorporate that into your product. So when people hire you, it's like, oh, you've got all the lights doing this and your sound is always really good and your microphone's never ever cut out. Or some guys are just high-level mixers. So maybe your product is like you're out there and you're a turntablist and you're doing all this kind of high-end technical stuff in your mixing. Like find something about you and what you know and what you excel at to create a product that separates yourself from all of your competition in whatever way that may be. So that's one pillar. But then the other pillar that you have to have that I think a lot of DJs and stuff don't always excel at is the professionalism, which includes how do you set up your communication with not just your clients, but how are you communicating with the planners? How are you communicating with the vendors or the venue itself? How are you presenting yourself when you show up to a gig? How are you handling yourself at the actual gig? How are you communicating after the event? Are you sending follow-up emails to the planners you worked with, the venue managers you worked with, thanking them for all the work they did and asking them, is there anything I can do better? Are you responding to email? Like, do you have a process set up that allows for really high level communication and professionalism throughout your client journey as they're prepping for the event, especially weddings, because there's a lot of prep work. So I think it's that secondary piece of your professionalism and your communication paired with the product you offer, that when you bring those two together, if you can offer a really high level product or a niche product based on what your skill set is and combine it with high level professionalism, now you have a brand that people are attracted to. So
that's good.
It's not rocket science, but nobody's ever accused DJs of being rocket scientists. So yeah, it's amazing how many DJs and companies and stuff out there will just ignore one of those two pillars. And all of a sudden they just have the same product everybody else has, which means you can't charge anything more than what everybody else charges.
Yeah, for sure. Something that was I was fascinated by that you were doing was I saw that you were playing a lot of bachelorette pool parties, and that looked like a lot of fun. And what an interesting niche, but you live where it's hot as hell.
Yeah. So bachelorette parties are interesting because they're not your high ticket item. So it's something I've done less and less of as I've kind of grown as a business and started charging more. Because at a certain point, you're like, if I'm going to do this bachelorette party on a Saturday, I'm not going to make nearly as much as if I was DJing a wedding. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, they're a lot of fun because you're just basically creating a vibe out next to a pool, but also the payday is not nearly as much as if you're doing like a wedding or corporate event. So you just kind of have to like figure out, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Maybe do I want to take one or two a year? But yeah, we're definitely we're in prime bachelorette party territory down here in Palm Springs.
Yeah, and I could see that leading to hopefully booking more weddings.
Yeah, I actually tried for a little bit to offer a kind of a deal where it was like, if you hire me to DJ your wedding, because obviously you are hiring all your vendors before you ever plan your bachelorette party, at least most brides are. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, if you hire me to DJ your wedding, I'll also give you a discount on your bachelorette party if you're having that in the Palm Springs area as well. And it just never, the idea that never took off. So
Yeah. I'm curious because I've only done a handful of corporate events. Most of them were cannabis events, which I guess could be considered corporate, but I live in Humboldt County, so that's what we have for corporate. But that's changed now. I'm actually doing some different corporate events. But do you price those differently than your weddings?
So I do a lot of my corporate events through a booking agency.
Ooh.
So that was I'm hooked in with usually I'll be the first person to sit around in a circle and bash booking agencies and booking agents and stuff like that because most of the time they're just swindlers, like they're just trying to get as much out of you as they can. But there's a really good agency in Southern California called Acoustic Spot Talent. I'll shout them out. The head guy, Josh, is an awesome guy, and they basically kind of turned the idea on its head. And they're like, we're going to roster top tier talent, and we're going to pay them. I don't think you'd mind me saying they pay their talent 80%.
Oh,
So
wow.
usually booking agencies are like, you're struggling, you maybe getting like 50% of what they're booking. They're like, if we book top end talent and we pay them what they're worth, like we're going to create this kind of atmosphere and this culture and this brand that is all about high end musicians and stuff. And the guy does crazy. Like he's based out of San Diego, but he does
Oh,
crazy numbers. Like
okay.
he's really good. He's a really cool guy. He runs his business above board. He pays his talent. Like I said, 80% of the booking total, he pays his talent. And he just moved into the Palm Springs area. So
Sweet.
I'll get a lot of my corporate stuff through them because it's so high end. It's like I'm making just as much on 80% of what you guys are booking as I would on 100% of what I'm booking. But typically, to answer your question, my corporate stuff, I'm more just booked by the hour. My weddings are in packages,
Yeah.
whereas my corporate stuff is more just like, oh, you need 3 hours of DJing. Like, I'm going to charge like X number of dollars per hour. And then just boom, that's kind of what the final price tag is. So it's
Yeah.
not nearly, I'm not selling a package as much as I'm just selling, oh, okay, you need 3 hours of a DJ.
Yeah.
Here's what it costs.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot more time goes into the wedding prep and
Yeah,
planning. So,
but but the corporate price tag is just as high, which is the
mm,
thing. That's why everybody wants to do corporate, and I get it because the price tag is there. Some of those corporate budgets are insane. Even local, like I've been shocked at what I've been able to just charge like local city governments. Like, hey, we're doing a 4th of July thing out in the park, and we need a DJ to play music up until the fireworks go off for 2 or 3 hours. And you'll be like, oh yeah, and you'll quote them like $300-400 an hour for like a little local city, and they're like, oh yeah, no problem. Like,
yeah, it
so,
is surprising. Yeah. And I, think about the importance of not having a scarcity mindset. I always am aiming high and
yeah,
trying to, stick to that number. I don't want to show up for less than this. Is it worth my time and energy? And like keeping those Saturdays open. And even for me right now, I said I don't want to work this month. I really didn't want to, but I just booked a couple high ticket gigs. Like I will not say no to the good work, but I will not go work for a couple hundred at the bar because I'm tired. I'm coming out of wedding season.
yeah.
I
I
don't
think
have to.
yeah, I think that's part of when you start to establish yourself as a little more high end, or just like, hey, this is a professional. Like this is not just a club DJ off the street. Like
Yeah.
don't even get me started on like the club DJs that will be like, hey, can I borrow music, or can I borrow this? Like, I don't even want to get started on those people who come into gigs and they don't have what they need.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think once you start to establish yourself as a professional, then you can just kind of tell people like, yeah, this is what I charge. It's still something that I'm working on. I realize that's always been a weakness of mine, because somebody will reach out and say like, hey, we have a corporate event, we need a DJ for 3 hours, whatever. And I'm just so scared if I give them too high of a number, they're just going to ghost me.
Yeah.
And I have a friend that's really good at quoting high and asking for what he believes he's worth. And I've kind of always looked to him and seen, oh, shoot, he quoted this. And they were like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So it's been something I've been trying to get better at, is not underselling myself for fear of losing the gig. And I think part of that, or a huge part of that, is what you said, and just being okay with not working. Like, if I quote you this and you want to go a different direction for less money, that's fine. I understand budget, but
Yeah.
if I'm going to make less than this, I'd rather not work and just have the day off. Like, and I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice when you hit that level, because it wasn't always like that. But to be able to be more selective and choose, and it is important. So I'm glad you brought up the booking agent, because I've always been fascinated about them. I didn't think that would maybe be a thing where I live here in Northern California, but maybe. But I have also been open to traveling more. So I like that you share that you're having a good experience with a booking agent, and that's been
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, it's not always been that way. I've not always had good experiences with booking agents. I feel like most DJs have booking agent stories they can tell of people that are just not good at their job, and they're just trying to use you to make money. So when you run into like a legitimate company that does things the right way, and it's a nice little system to get hooked into for some of that high-end corporate stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do feel that, like, in the beginning, it's important to build a brand and get a name for yourself, but that is something that is you're always working on your brand, and it takes time, and your brand is really your reputation. And that's where it takes time to build that reputation and get client referrals, and let your people know this is what you're doing and you're serious about it, and send the clients my way. So you recently did a rebrand. I'd love to hear a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so earlier at the beginning of the year, like as of January 1st, I shifted everything and I became Bass and Bliss, which is for all kind of the business nerds out there, we went S Corp. So it's an S Corp branded as Bass and Bliss Incorporated, which is how I started doing things at the beginning of the year, because I brought on a second DJ to help with the work. So I had a second DJ. I could sell couples if I was booked, or if they wanted just kind of one pricing tier down, they could book him. And that was going great, but things were growing and I had space to book out more. So I wanted to bring on a third DJ, and it turns out like solid wedding DJs are really, really hard to find. To find a DJ that has the capability of doing everything, as far as setting up all the equipment and making sure sound is set up the proper way, running audio for a ceremony, doing MC work, and then of course actually being able to DJ a dance floor at the end of the night. Those are some varied skill sets. Like those are 2, 3 like different skill sets, and it's hard to find somebody that has all those skill sets. And at a certain point, I'm like, man, I don't want to have to like keep training somebody every time I bring in a new person. So I was like trying to figure out what can I do. And I reached out to a friend of mine, Stacy Nichols, DJ Trackstar Stacy, and asked her, because she had moved a little closer to the Palm Springs area, asked her if she would be willing to come on and be a wedding DJ. And she was like, no, I don't want to do that. All I would want to do is just DJ the dance floor at the end of the night. And it struck a bell in my head, because I had been playing around with the idea of what if when people hired Bass and Bliss to do their wedding, they hired a team. So you would hire an opener DJ to come in along with, a roadie or a technician or whatever you want to call them, to set everything up. Then that opener DJ would DJ everything from the ceremony up until the dance started. So they would take care of all kind of that basic DJing technical stuff throughout the first course. And then you bring in a second DJ or your headliner to just basically rock the dance floor at the end of the night. And that way I could bring on DJs that didn't want to do a whole wedding, but they would be more than happy to come on and make X amount of dollars that I'm paying them to just DJ a dance floor at the end of the night, because that's what they do anyway. So I started looking more closely into that and found that, obviously DJs are much more willing to come in and just do a dance floor at the end of the night. That's all they had to do. So I was able to bring on some really, really good talent onto the company, because they know all they have to do is just do a dance floor at the end of the night. And then I found basically local musicians who understood this is how private events work. This is how you set up sound, like, because they've been musicians for longer than I've been a DJ, and just teach them the basics of DJing. And they can come in and do that first part. They can set up the equipment. They can run microphones at a ceremony. They can do some very basic mixing during dinner and make announcements. Like, that's all very teachable stuff. But then they're like, I don't want to do the dance floor. Like, I'm not a DJ. I don't want the pressure of a dance floor. So they're happy just doing that first part. And then you bring in that headliner DJ that only wants to do the dance floor. And now you've got people that are able to focus on a smaller skill set that they can do at a high level, as opposed to having to worry to do a ton of stuff from beginning to end. So I was able to grab local musicians who wanted to make some extra money and wanted to just expand their skill set, and just teach them kind of the basics they need to know about running a wedding as a DJ. Even though as musicians, they already have most of that skill set. And then I'm able to bring on DJs like Stacy Nickel, who does speaking all over the country and does high-end corporate stuff, to come in and do dance floors. I got another local guy who's a signed house music producer who also does corporate stuff, where he's like, I don't really want to do full weddings, but I'll come in and just do a dance floor. Yeah. So able to kind of attract that high-end talent, because you get to let them focus on just what they want to do, instead of making them, that 10-hour day turns into a 3-hour day.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, I'm loving this conversation. You've got my wheels turning. I like this plan right here you got going on, this strategy. I really like that, because I'll be honest, because we put in so much work before. And for me, I'm driving a lot. By those last few hours, I am getting tired.
Yeah. I mean, it was the same thing for me, because I think this year I did around 50 weddings. It's been a crazy wedding season for a couple of years for most DJs, just because all the COVID, and we're still backed up from that. For me, it was just like, I'm done. Like, if I'm there 2 to 3 hours before the wedding starts, setting everything up, then I'm doing the entire 6-hour wedding, and then I'm there for an hour or so at the end, tearing everything down. That's a long day, and I was just getting tired of it. So I was like, how can I create like a company structure and do things in a way that's going to allow me to also do what I want to do? Yeah. I just sell myself as one of the headliners. I'm just a headliner along with the other 2 people that are headliners in our company. And you can choose me if you want, or you can choose somebody else, whatever. But now, instead of having to be the guy for the entirety of, a whole day, I get to just come in at the end of the night, rip a dance floor, and maybe help like tear down a little bit of equipment at the end. And then I'm out of there too. So it's also been nice for me personally, because I've realized I want to move on from the more traditional wedding DJ approach, where you're there 9, 10. I had a wedding not too long ago where I was on site for like 14 hours total. And it's just, I was talking with, I have some friends in Utah, and especially one, his name's Cam Reeve, that does like high-end production stuff. And I was just like talking to him, I was like, man, once you start like caring about the product you put out there, and you start doing a little higher end stuff, it's like, man, that setup time and everything goes up, because like you're setting up better equipment, you're setting up speakers maybe in a different way than just when you were a low end. It's just like, here, let me put a speaker on each side of my table and I'm off and running. Like, when you start doing things the right way, it gets harder and it gets more time consuming. And so I was like, man, like, when I was just setting up a couple speakers and a table with a controller on it, like, it was easy. I was charging $75 an hour to DJ a wedding or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was easy. But now I'm like, okay, well, if I got to set up at ceremony and I'm trying to make sure the ceremony sound is really good. And then I cocktail hours maybe in a different area. And then my reception area is over here, but it's like I'm setting up sound here and then I'm running I'm running the second speaker like around the corner or away, and I'm setting up a bun booth with turntables in it now. And it's like, shoot, like this is like, I got this is it's like it's a lot of work. So this kind of new approach also helps me maximize my time and be able to approach weddings in a way that's not going to drive me crazy and give me gray hair by the time I'm 35 or whatever.
I was just curious. So are you staying the whole time sometimes, but not always staying the whole time when you have someone close for you?
My idea is if I train people up right, because it's all, I mean, if you're someone who's just started or just thinking about expanding, like I want to make some extra money, like I'm throwing away referrals, it's time to like go into the multi-op or whatever. I know that's always a big discussion for DJs. Like you have to make sure the people you are bringing on with you are good people. Like nothing will derail you faster other than hiring bad help. So my idea is I basically have three. I have 3 openers and then 3 closers. So you basically have 3 teams that can go out at any time. All 3 of my openers are personal friends with each other. So they all 3 already have a really solid relationship with each other. And they know 2 out of the 3 of us closers know them as well. So there's already a lot of like a kind of synergy between all the people. Most of us already know each other. But all that's to say is if you hire good people and you train them up right, my goal is I can tell people like, hey, Stacy and Sean, you guys have got a wedding on this date. Sean has like the technician that he works with. That's the guy that helps him with setup and teardown. And they know the process. So Sean knows what his responsibilities are to prep for this wedding. Stacy knows what time she's supposed to come in for, and she knows what her responsibilities are as the dance floor. And they can just go do the wedding. Like, and I don't ever have to be there. Or if I'm the headliner, the person I work out, I'm like, okay, Josiah, we've got a wedding, whatever. We've got a wedding on this date. Here's the details that he gets from me as just the head of the company who books it. And he knows what he's supposed to do. So if that dance floor starts at 8 o'clock and I'm the headliner DJ, I don't show up until like 7:30. And I'm ready there, hook stuff in. If we need to hook stuff in, he can give me some notes. Hey, man, when I was playing this during dinner, people were kind of bopping around. So keep that in mind. And then I can go from there just like I'm any of the other headliners. So the goal is to hire the right people, to train them in the right way, to set expectations in a way that they understand what they need to do, and then just let them do it. And just let them do their thing. So no, ideally I would not be there. Like if I'm not involved with the wedding at all, I'll never show up. And if I'm just the headliner who's doing the dance floor, I'd show up when any of the other headliners would, because everybody else knows what their job is and they know what's expected of them.
This is so good. We actually, this last weekend had 3 of us on the wedding. I booked it. I brought the gear. We set it up together. I stayed through ceremony and then I left. And then halfway through that, our headliner came in. So very interesting that we're talking about this. I love it. And you know, to scale our business, we can't do it alone. To go, if you want to go slow, do it alone. If you want to go fast, build a team. And having a team that you can trust, team that they all know the main mission, you share same values, like that is huge. I love that you said to get musicians, local musicians, because we get paid a lot more than musicians. So I'm sure they're grateful. And sometimes I feel guilty about that. But in the reggae world where I've lived for years, you know, I'm making a lot more money than some of my artist friends. And, you know, they kind of come to me for maybe some advice on, you know, how can we get more money?
It was like, it's something, one of my best friends here in the Valley, that is a guy that's being one of our openers, is a guy I met in the music scene because he's a keyboard player for a local band that does a little bit of everything, weddings, corporate, public stuff. Like they do a little bit of everything. They're really good. And we've talked about that for years, the pay difference between what, like a 4-piece band will make what I'm making on my own. And obviously they're dividing it up between 4 members and I'm not. One of the guys I talked to, his name's Calvin. He's going to be one of our openers. I sat down and had a conversation with him. It was kind of like a little interview, if you will, when I was thinking about bringing him on. And he was the same thing. He's like, man, I'm 32 years old or whatever he is. And it's like, I've been playing guitar. He plays guitar in LA. He's a giggy musician in LA. And he's just like, man, like I'm at the point now where it's like, yeah, it's not about like, I don't feel like I'm selling out because now I'm going to go do DJ stuff for more money. It's more of just like, I'm tired of doing like a full gig for like $250.
Yeah.
If I could make extra money, like with this skill set, like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And it was just funny to see him when I was like, this is what I'm thinking about paying your position. And his eyes were just like, you could literally see it in his eyes. He was like, oh my gosh, like that is,
Yeah.
it was a lot. So yeah, it's a big thing with the musicians. Not only do they understand how a gig works and they understand how to set up equipment and know what it means to gig at, know the professionalism of gigging at a private event. They understand all that. But when you tell them what they're going to make and they're like, oh shoot, like I can make 2-3 times more doing this as I can actually doing like a guitar gig or whatever at a local country club, they're like, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you think most of your business is coming from?
Right now, so I keep track of my referral source. I try and do a pretty good job of that. If I reach like the consultation phase with people, I keep track of where I'm getting that referral from. My biggest one right now is just referrals from other people, whether it's a venue, whether it's another vendor, whether it's the planner sending them over. I found that my biggest referral source is just us being referred from other people that have worked with us in the past. That's the big one. And then number 2, after that, you get to more some of the traditional stuff. Like we've had pretty good success with the knot. Some people find us on Google because if you just Google like Palm Springs wedding DJ, like our company is the first one that pops up in like the little list of companies. So things like that, but just direct referrals from people and venues and stuff that have worked with us in the past are good. And that's where we get our high-end ones. Like when you start getting into, I'm sure you've realized that too, when you start getting into the higher end stuff, it is referral. Like a wedding, like somebody hires a high-end wedding planner to plan their wedding, like that wedding planner is usually going to be like, hey, when I go to Palm Springs, this is the DJ I like to work with. They're not Googling, like if they're at a high-end venue with a high-end planner, they're not just going to be at Google Palm Springs DJ. Like they're going to want somebody with referrals to like the wedding planner. A lot of times at that point, it's like, hey, this is the guy I like to work with in Palm Springs. He does a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like, clients, when they are getting referrals from other vendors for other vendors, it's like probably also gives them a little peace of mind. Like these vendors know each other. They've worked together. Like the planner and DJ in particular is a very important relationship.
Yeah.
I think,
there's so many little things I do that I've picked up on over the years that I could tell other DJs. These are little things, like little easy things you can do as far as how you interact with other vendors and other people involved with the wedding that are going to put you on people's good side.
You want to share a few of those tips?
Yeah. I don't think nobody in my market's listening to this. So I don't know if they care enough to reach out and listen to podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they do, whatever. It is what it is. One thing I do, I always so part of my form that people are supposed to fill out is vendor information. So I will message the photographer and the videographer before a wedding, like on Instagram, and I'll shoot them a message and I'll say, hey, my name is Alex. I'm the DJ for John and Jane Doe's wedding this Saturday. As the MC of the event, I always like to make sure I'm on the same page with the photo and video team. So I just wanted to reach out early and open up that line of communication. Just let you know who I am. And I've had photographers be like, I've never had anybody reach out like that before a wedding to me. And it's nice because photographers and video people, they hate as an MC when you just start announcing stuff and they're not ready. Yeah. So reaching out to them beforehand like that and then making a concerted effort at the wedding to be like, hey Jake, like we're getting ready to do the grand entrance. Are you guys good? Yeah, I'm good, man. Okay, cool. Boom. And now they know you're working with them, and they know that they're important. Everybody likes to know. Everybody thinks they're important. The photographer is pretty important. I'll give them that one.
Yeah.
But people like to know that other people know that they're important. So if you can just work with your photo video team to make sure you guys are always on the same page, they really appreciate that. The other thing I do is send wedding follow-ups. So if there was a planner involved, and if I have a contact for a venue manager, both of which are also on my contact form I have couples fill out, I will send them an email, usually the Monday after the weddings, and just basically say, hey guys, thank you for all the work you put into John and Jane's wedding. Really appreciate if there was something personal from the wedding, like, can you believe the maid of honor tripped and fell like that? Whatever, something a little personal from the wedding you can add in there. And then I just tell them, like, hey, I know there's some things that DJs do that tend to drive y'all nuts. If there's anything we could do better, if there's anything that we could do better as the DJs, please let us know so that next time we work together, things run more smoothly. And now you open them up to not only giving you feedback, so there might be things you need to know about your own performance, or if you're a multi-op, oh, I didn't realize my guy was doing this, I'll talk to him. But it also just opens up that communication where they can be like, hey, Alex, no, everything went great. You are awesome. I'll be happy to refer you to other clients in the future if we feel they're a good fit. Or, a venue is like, hey, thank you. No, we've never had anybody reach out like this. Thank you. We'll see you again soon. Something like that. So it just is that little extra step to develop that relationship with other vendors and venues in the area so that you can give yourself the best possible chance to stay front of mind.
I love that. And it's just showing you care. And that goes a long way. We're in the love business when we're talking about weddings. To let them know you really truly cared about their experience, and you're open to the feedback, and to nurture that relationship afterwards. I love that.
And it's nice if you feel like you developed a good relationship with, say the venue manager who is running everything. Sometimes in that email, you can even put like, hey, I would love, if you wouldn't mind, I would love to send you over our information so that you have it on hand for future couples. If you feel like you can offer that without feeling pushy. If you develop a good relationship, lots of times they'll be like, yeah, send it on over. Boom, you send them your services menu, and now the catering director or the private events manager or whatever is at this venue not only likes you, but now they have all of your information on hand and they can give it to anybody that comes through that door.
Yeah. That's wonderful. I love it. Thank you for sharing that, sharing your secrets. Is there anything else that you do that you would share with us to make your client experience special?
Yes. So I'm big. Once you have those two pillars of high-end product, high-end professionalism, bringing them together. My next big thing, if I were to be like coaching somebody or whatever, one is to let's look at what's your client journey like from the time they reach out to the time you hit play on that first song. What's that journey like? Because by that point, they've already decided if they like you or not, before you ever play a song anyway.
Yeah.
So I do a whole bunch of stuff to try and make that unique for us. I have a face-to-face Zoom consultation with all of our couples. So all of our couples that book with us get to meet me personally, and I take them through an actual presentation that shows them how we like to work with our couples and the stuff we offer. So they get to develop that connection as opposed to me just emailing them like, yeah, here's our packages. Let me know if you have any questions. So that's the first thing. And then I make the planning process as easy as possible. Everything that our couples do is online in a planning client portal. So they just literally log onto this portal through our website, and the entire planning process is right there in one spot for them, which makes it easy. If you go and look at our reviews that people write, we have multiple couples that mention that in their reviews about how, no, he had this planning portal that we use for our planning process. So they'll mention that even in their review. I have just automated emails that go out throughout the whole process, so just they know we're thinking about them. I even started a thing recently. I'm pretty excited about this. I just started doing it about a month ago for all of our 2023 couples at our 90-day out email. I like put in the headline of the email, like something like 90-day reminder plus a free gift, and I capitalize it so they see it and open it. And I ask for their address, and I will actually send them like a $50 Visa card. And then I put a little business card I made on there that says, wedding planning is hard. Everybody needs a break. Please enjoy a date night on us. And then the other side says, tag us. I have a little thing on there. Nobody's done it yet. So, but I have a little thing like, tag us and show us what your night was like. And I have a little QR code that takes them to my digital business card. Or is it supposed to take them there? So that they can even tag us if they want. So I give that to them at 90 days out. That's just one more step to be like, hey, we're going the extra mile to think about you. I go through the process, and then we also give all of our couples a gift at the wedding. I found a guy on Etsy that will take any song. So I get their first dance song, and I have this guy on Etsy take the lyrics of it and put the lyrics in the shape of a record. And just kind of put their name and their wedding date on it. And then I cut that down into an 8x10, smack it into a frame from Amazon, put that in a branded box and give it to them at the wedding. So when they open that gift up, it's their first dance song with the lyrics in the shape of a record. But they put that in their house. I've had multiple couples tell me like, hey, we've got this, hanging up or sitting somewhere in our house. And now even once the wedding's over, even if they just see that once a month, they see that record and they're like, oh yeah, that was from our DJ. And now we just stay front of mind.
Yeah.
So it's like I know that was like a lot of stuff in a short
That's
amount.
amazing. You're doing incredible things. I'm gonna go back and take a lot of notes from our interview.
There you go. Well, you can always feel free to call me off camera and I can walk through anything. But my goal is always, what can I do that's above and beyond that's going to separate you from everyone else?
Yeah.
Because if somebody's like, hey, why should I hire you for X amount of dollars when I can hire Joe Schmo over here for half the price or a third of the price? Like, you have to be able to tell them, like, just saying I'm a better DJ, which you might be, is purely subjective at that point. They don't know that you're a better DJ. They don't even know what goes into DJing that makes you a better DJ. They really don't know until the dance floor, which is obviously at that point they've made their decision. So what concrete things can you show somebody when they sit to justify being a higher in price tag if you're trying to get up to that 6 figures and whatever business thing? And to do that, lots of times you have to think beyond about the technical. You can't be like, hey, let's jump on a Zoom and I'll show you how good at scratching I am. And that's why I charge $5,000 for my wedding. Like, you can't do that. You have to go beyond just the music, which is hard for some DJs, and be like, as a business, what am I doing as a business for these people that's separating me from Joe Schmo over here that's maybe charging a third of the price or a half of the price? And there are a ton of things you can do that go beyond your skills as a DJ that justify that higher price tag and make you worth it.
I agree. Well, you have shared so many wonderful things with us today. I want to thank you for your generosity of sharing your experience and all your tips and secrets. I definitely feel inspired to make some changes because, it's all about creating just a really wonderful experience for our clients and for ourselves too. Have fun with it. I love connecting with my clients and getting more intimate and deep with my clients and, really taking care of them and, knowing that that's gonna come back to me.
I have to give a shout out to DJ, do you know Jess McKelvey out of Pittsburgh? So I have to give a little bit of credit to her. I had a conversation with her, probably close to a year ago, where she kind of went through her client journey process with me, and she was making a huge effort to create additional value for her clients in that journey leading up to the wedding even starting. And that was definitely inspirational for me as well, as far as thinking, what can I add to my journey as well that works with my brand and what I want to be too. She's a little more like touchy-feely, like hippy-dippy than I am. So she was doing some things that were very on brand for her. That was like, I would never in a million years do this with my clients. But just the idea of, she was being very intentional about adding value to her process So I got to give a shout out to her because that was a little inspiring for me as well to be like, okay, I have all this space between when they book me and when the wedding starts that I can add all this value to. And using that space effectively can really add to the value of what your company is.
I love how you frame that. Like there's a lot of space, using it effectively. Yesterday I sent emails to my 2023 clients. I made sure that they had the planning form, and just checked in with them and wanted to a little check-in.
That whole planning process, like not just the things you can do, but what is their planning process with you like as well, because that planning process is stressful for them. So the last thing they want to do is be stressed out even more when they're planning their music. So how are you using that planning process to add value to your company as well as the little things you're doing as far as the check-ins, or maybe, sending out the gift card or doing mood boards for your clients or whatever it may be.
And I too was also inspired by DJ Jess, as we're good friends and we've worked together in different ways. So gifts. That's something I've actually wanted to get better at, because just in general, I have not always been the best gift giver. But
yeah. If you wanna see something funny, or you want to start a fight, go on DJ idea sharing and ask about gift giving. If you're a DJ listening to this, that's not a bad point. If you're a DJ listening to this, go on DJ idea sharing. If you're not on there already, just join. It's priceless. It's priceless. It's a Facebook group. Just be like, I'm thinking about adding a gift giving process to my clients to add value. What do you guys suggest? And watch the DJs on there that will tell you that their gift to their client is their dance floor. Like, I rip a dance floor and that's my gift to my client. Or I don't give clients tip me at the end because of how good of a job I do. And just look at that. And that's your competition, because if people online are thinking like that, DJs in your area, there's a chance they're thinking like that as well. That's your competition. Your competition is they're thinking they're the gift to their clients. So if you can flip that, and now you're adding value to what you do with something as simple as gift giving, you've already set yourself apart from everything, from a lot of the DJs that think they're the gift to their couple. So
yeah.
Sometimes it's good to go on there and look at what the trolls and everything say, because you realize, wow, there are a lot of people I can very easily separate myself from with just a few little things that really aren't even that hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've given me so many ideas and so much inspiration. So thank you. And I hope that our audience, finds some inspiration from our interview. Also, what is the best way that people could connect with you online?
The best way is, if you want to connect with me on social media, is Instagram, just DJ Alex Updike, AlexUpdike. I'm not on Facebook business wise, because I realize that's not where my clientele is, and I have not migrated to TikTok yet.
Yeah.
So I'm just mainly on that in between in Instagram. So that's going to be the best place to hit me up. But if you look at our website, you can always email me. It's just alex@basinbliss.com. Like, I'm always looking at my email too. So either one of those ways is great.
Cool. Wonderful. Well, thank you again for being a part of the Six Figure DJ podcast. And I can't.
Welcome to the Six Figure DJ podcast. I'm your host, Michelle, aka DJ RunDat. I'm so excited to share a series of interviews where DJs from around the world share their stories and secrets to hitting six figures and beyond in their DJ business, and how you can too. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you hear, please rate and review the podcast and share it with your friends.
Can't wait to stay connected and watch you grow as a business and a DJ, and hopefully we get to share a stage again, or an event.
Absolutely. Yeah, the California DJs, we got to stick together, right?
Right.
The West Coast DJs, we got to stick together.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. All right. Well, thank you.
You are very welcome. My pleasure. Thank you.